There was also my trip to Tibet. What happened in Tibet? I asked, hoping for a story. Aunt True was a world traveler, and her adventures in remote corners of the world often sparked epic tales. I worked with yak herders, was all she said this time, though. What's a yak? Asked Pippa, my youngest sister. It's like a big, ugly, hairy cow, my middle sister Lauren told her. Pippa scrunched her nose. Maybe they should call it a yak. Good one, Pipster. My brother Hatcher slapped her a high five. Spending a few weeks with sheep or with yak herders or whatever other experience you think you've had is a whole lot different from running a farm of your own, my father persisted. And what about Rusty? He's spent most of his life shut up in a library. My dad had a point. Aunt True was always insisting that Erastus Peckinpah, her history professor fiancé, had what she called hidden depths. But he didn't exactly strike me, or anyone else in town for that matter, judging from the talk I'd overheard at the general store, as farmer material. He must have kept that side of himself really well hidden. Libraries are fine places to learn a great many things, my aunt said stiffly. My father snorted again, and this time my mother stepped in. Perhaps it's time to mind your own business, JT, she told him. Everyone's entitled to their dreams. My father speared a piece of syrup-drenched waffle with his fork. Fine, but everyone knows that place is a wreck. It was a wreck even back when we were kids. I'll admit it needs work, allowed Aunt True. That's why we can afford it. What it needs, my father declared, shoving the bite of waffle into his mouth, is a bulldozer. Daddy's talking with his mouth full, Pippa observed, and my mother shushed her. My father and his older sister had been going around and around like this ever since Aunt True had announced that she and Professor Rusty, soon to be Uncle Rusty after their wedding next weekend, had bought the old farm on the outskirts of town. It was Ella Bello, our town's retired postmistress turned knitting store owner, who broke the news that it was going up for sale. Ella considered herself in charge of gossip in Pumpkin Falls. I'd known something was up when I glanced out the window of our bookshop and saw her burst from the front door of A Stitch in Time and make a beeline across the street. Either her entire yarn supply was on fire, or Ella had news to share. True, she'd called, barging in through the bookshop door. The bells attached to the top of it jangled vigorously, apparently as excited as she was. Miss Marple, my grandparents' golden retriever, who had been napping in her dog bed by the counter, lifted her head and woofed. My aunt's in the back office, Mrs. Bello, I told her. I was killing time before my piano lesson, trying to come up with a concept for a special window display for the leaf peepers. Leaf peepers were what the locals called the hordes of tourists who descended on little towns all over New England every autumn, eager for a glimpse of our famous, colorful fall foliage. True, Ella called again, louder this time. Have you heard? We were having a quiet afternoon, fortunately. There were only 2 customers in the store at the moment, neither of whom were local. If Ella had something embarrassing to share, at least they wouldn't know who she was talking about. My aunt emerged from the back. What's up, Ella? Is everything okay? Ella drew herself up to her full height, which was considerable. She was almost as tall as my aunt and me, and we both stood 6 feet in our socks. After a dramatic pause, she blurted, The Farnsworths are selling up. Aunt True gave her a puzzled look. What do you mean? I just got off the phone with Thelma Farnsworth. She finally managed to talk Elmer into retirement. They're moving into town to live with Ethel and Ike. Ethel was Thelma Farnsworth's sister. She was married to Elmer Farnsworth's brother, Ike. Ike and Ethel owned Pumpkin Falls' general store. My aunt looked thoughtful. Is that right? Thelma's been wanting to do this for a while now, Ella barreled on, but you know how Elmer is when he digs his heels in. Sadly, I did. Part of living in a small town was knowing exactly this kind of detail about, well, pretty much everybody. Elmer Farnsworth was famously stubborn. It was the